I have the immense pleasure to announce for the, I don't know, nth time, the one, the only, the man, the legend, Robert Lemke.
Robert, let me hand you over the controls.
Yes, and it's so nice that you put that 20-year-old photo of me. I turned 50 last week. So yeah, thanks a lot for the introduction, and I'm still overwhelmed after all these years by standing here. It's quite exciting to look into your faces of the community here. And so a warm welcome from me too to NEOS Conference 2026. So, as always, I ask, who is here at some NEOS event for the very first time? Can you raise your hands? There are, yes, great. So welcome. I'm pretty sure you'll make some new friends by the end of this. I promise that. So, and if you look around here, I mean, not at me, but at this place here, you see that this is not what usually a community conference looks like. This is practically half a television studio, right? And this was built by volunteers within less than 2 days, and it still amazes me what the community does here, just with passion and a lot of knowledge gained over the years. And I want to say a big thank you to put up this stage, to make this possible, to make it such an inspiring place for everyone. So thanks a lot for the whole team who makes that possible. And I have to say, I really love this stuff, all of it. You know, the cables, the little red telly lights, the moving lights and everything. My heart really beats faster when I get into such a room, because maybe some of you know, but I used to do exactly this for a living many, many years ago, long before NEOS, long before my PHP code was good enough to being paid for. So in 1997, who was born there? Not born there yet. So this is, you know, grandpas telling war stories, right? So at that time, I did my apprenticeship at Studio Hamburg. So I was the very first year of learning Mediengestalter, Bild und Ton, so picture and sound, television. And it was a strange time to learn that trade, because the whole industry was facing a big change back then. So I still learned everything analog, with composite video and the old signal chains, editing with a Sony BVE 2000, that's there. And in order to edit a video, you actually needed these tape machines and rolling tapes and get them back and forth and so on. But I also learned digital editing, and this is, sorry, it's very old, it's 1997. This is a software which still exists, Avid Media Composer, which was the first non-linear editing solution back then. And so I also edited on a computer, and there was to a newspaper I told famously back then, yeah, in the future everyone will edit videos on a computer. So it was me who was the visionary back then. And this is here, I don't know if you can see that. That is also a photo from back then. I worked there. That is a color correction suit, which cost, if I remember right, like 11 million euros back then, this whole setup, because it had uncompressed video with full color range and whatnot. And this is how it looks like on my MacBook today, and it doesn't cost anything. It's the same software as DaVinci, and so you can do the same things, even in much better quality today. And this is crazy, and this is why we could build a TV studio here, because all the gear got cheap enough, right? So, but having this equipment, I mean, you can download that software. That doesn't mean that you can produce a show. So, in order to produce a show, you need to have an eye for the frame. You need just having that equipment doesn't give you lighting and sound design and rhythm and the feel when to cut and everything. So that means the creative part didn't get cheaper. That part actually got more valuable, because now everybody can do that, and you can differentiate. If you're into video editing, you can differentiate yourself from others by being very good at the creative part. So, and back then we had quite some time to adapt. The switch from analog to digital didn't come overnight. It took quite some years. But the shift we are now facing, the shift to AI, comes much faster, of course. And Avid Media Composer still exists. I looked it up. And now, of course, it has AI support. It's quite good. It can cut your sports highlights while the match is still running, and it can do that in seconds, and you won't notice the difference to any other soccer match you've seen before. So does that mean that video editing is now in the domain of AI? And so I wonder where the new will come from. This is a question I thought about a lot this year. Because, as you all know, AI mostly works with what it already has seen. So it recombines what exists, brilliantly sometimes, but it leans always toward the middle, toward the most likely, toward the most average. And that's not a flaw, that's literally how it works. This is how LLMs work today. So, yeah, let me show you a snippet from a movie, a very short one, and just focus on the cuts in that movie, all right? So I'll show it to you now.
How much wood?
Lucy,
You schmuck, you bastard. I'd like to cut your fucking head off.
you're upset, right?
Yeah. Obviously. So you've seen the jumps, the jump cuts. And usually jump cuts are a mistake. You don't want to cut into the flow of a movement. And of course, you don't want to jump back in time and so on. So in that movie, the main character has problems with distinguishing between reality and fiction. And therefore, Woody Allen used these jump cuts to emphasize that sentiment, that feeling of being completely confused in time and reality and so on. So AI, I would say, would never have invented such editing. It would have smoothened it out and made it correct. Yeah? And I think there's a real risk hiding under this. Maybe you know this here. So if you train an AI model over generations, though in the beginning you have multiple different cat photos, for example, and then you tell the AI to generate more of them, then you train the second generation based on that output. And over time, it will normalize and averaged, and surprising details will get away. And this is called a model collapse. So if you train AI with what it has generated, it will get worse and worse in the future. And there are, of course, strategies they try to work against this, but this is a real risk. And I think that AI won't run out of competence, but it will run out of surprise. And this is not just a theory from such a lab or so. This is what I really experience in my own work as well. So this is me at 7 years old. I didn't find a photo of me when I was 9, but when I was 9, I started programming, and that's 41 years ago. So programming or software development is not something I do, it's actually a big part of my identity. And there was one feeling I was chasing all the time over all these years, and that is a hard but solvable problem, and you get into your room and work on it on a couple of hours, and you are able to achieve it actually. You just build piece by piece, and you create something maybe beautiful, elegant. So I think it's really a craft. And you know, of course, what feeling I'm talking about. That feeling has a name, and it's called flow. And this is the reason I called the framework flow. And this is, by the way, my daughter, 16 years ago. And what she's wearing is donated by Andreas. Where are you? There. The Flow 3 Small Business Edition. So, but that is really the feeling I was aiming for. And this is what is part of my identity. This is what my work quality, my life quality actually is while working, when I can into that flow state. And my start of this year looked completely different. And I get that, I think that a lot of you can relate to that. So my average day in 2026 was, I describe what I want, I wait a few minutes, I confirm, I deny, and because I have to wait, I start a parallel task, a second project. So, you know, I press yes and no, and yes, you can execute that Python, whatever you want to do there. I have no idea. Yes, of course. And even there, I have to wait, so I start feeding further agents with research tasks and tell agents to run more agents, and I move pretty fast. That it was, you know, it's like with superpowers. Immediately you think like, wow, how fast all this goes. And the problem though is that while Claude is doing all the tasks I did previously, only the hard work is left for me. Only the tough decisions, the architecture. I really have to be laser focused on what that AI is doing so it doesn't mess up my whole application. And this takes a lot of energy. And I was really missing these easy steps, like going into a class and cleaning it up and just, you know, moving functions from there to there, because it looks more elegant, but I realized that this is necessary to get a feeling for the code, for the architecture, to get new ideas. And this was completely shut off. And in March, I really felt like I don't want to be in that domain anymore, in that business anymore. If this is the future, this is not what I want to do. So, and another thing which happened is that because it never stopped, I also didn't take any breaks anymore. So I was sitting there for 3 hours later and didn't take a breath. And it took a really big willpower to break that cycle and to take breaks again and to not use AI for everything, like architecture questions and whatnot, or which feature should I develop, etc. But I really did that, and then I sat down with pencil and paper and wrote down ideas for structures and features and so on. And you know that for years I was also the big skeptic here about AI. You can go back and watch or ask Roland or anything. And but this year something really changed for me. And that's not because of something we call, or people call, vibe coding. So describing a vibe and shipping whatever comes out. That's not what I mean. I think that the tools now, within the last few months, got so good and have a big enough context and are reliable enough to be used as a professional, that this really made a difference for me. And I realized this won't go away. This is now my new working environment. And today I think using AI is not careless. So you still read every line, you still test, you still own the result. This is important. You sign with your name when you push something. And this is engineering. So this is engineering with responsibility, not magic, not vibes. You just use a more powerful tool than previously. You already had an IDE which could do refactoring for you. Now you have an AI which emits a lot of CO2. This as a side note. So if I'm now in favor of AI, still I need to tell you, of course, still, the impact AI has on the environment, communication, democracy, our youth, humanity in general is really problematic. And we need to keep an eye on that. And this is really tough for me, you can believe me. But we can't stop that wave. We can only make sure to choose the right direction while we serve it and try to be conscious about what we're doing there. And I'll make some suggestions about that later on. So when building gets cheap, when you have these tools and can generate a lot of code for very few money, the thing that stays rare is knowing what's worth building. And what it's about is its coherence, its judgment, and an architecture which still makes sense in 5 years. This is nothing that the AI will decide for you. And AI does not come up with creative new solutions, as I've already shown. It will go into the average. It wouldn't create an event source content repository. And we have some really good experts here who know how to do all this, and I see a lot of them sitting there. So this is not just true for us developers. It's true for the whole world we work in. And the world of content, the world of websites, the world of content management. So let me zoom out a bit. You have to know that I don't tell these guys on beforehand that they will be shown in the keynote. So for about 30 years, we built websites for one audience, humans. People with eyes, reading a screen, clicking a link. And that assumption is quietly breaking now. So the web has a new audience, and these are machines, of course. So those AI agents, they do visit websites, they read them, they transform them, they display it somewhere completely different at a completely different place. And agents are not behaving like a human visitor. They don't click, they don't scroll, they read the raw markup. They try to make sense out of it. So if they read a price, for example, they think like, is that 1,000 delimiter, that dot there? Or is it is it 10,000 euro? Or is it 10 euro with 3 decimals after the comma? They don't know, they will guess. So it's a bit like reading a menu in a language you don't speak. That idea here is not from me, but still, I like it. So you point at something and you hope, and sometimes you get dinner, and sometimes you get a surprise. But there are a few bad things which can happen now when the AI visits your website. So one thing is the AI, the agent quotes you, but gets it wrong, right? You don't have much control over that. Or the agent can't read you at all, so you simply don't exist in the answer. And this happens more and more because previously, of course, you had a list of results, and now you only have picked one answer. And it's very hard to be in there. Or, much more confusing, a competitor with a cleaner and clearer sites becomes mentioned with your answer. So there's a whole idea about it called machine experience, MX. I recently met Tom Cranston in Frankfurt, and he's been pushing the idea hard and also made a website and a community effort about it, how you can develop your markup, for example, so that it's readable by machines. I think he's completely right, but now that I'm so old, this sounds like completely old principles we have for so many years. So start with content, not with design. Structure first, content modeling, machine meaning first, and the pretty layout comes later. So I don't know why that happened, but it seems like most companies are designing for screens and completely ignore the content modeling, information architecture part. And the knowledge is there. We have to use it. So, but machines are not only visiting your website. They are also starting to edit your websites. And think about that for a second. So, Neos actually has a new user in the editor role. And that has consequences. So I'll come back to that in a moment, but while we talk all about machines, I love that irony that still the number one reason why big companies are replacing their CMS because their editors hate it. That's still, I mean, whatever we talk about machine experience, this is still the human touch. So if you line that all up, what I just mentioned, and there's of course much more, machines as a new audience, and structured content becomes mission critical, and so on. So there are so many requirements there that CMS vendors get a bit nervous. And maybe we should be nervous. Or should we? Because when I saw this whole list, something clicked for me. And that is, we already built most of that. So we have separation of content and presentation. We have structured semantic content. We have content dimensions for languages, channels, everything built in if you use Neos right. And we have a visual editing which still can have structured content. So this is the foundation a machine-readable web actually needs, and we all have that. So we have Neos 9, we have the event-sourced content repository. We spent years on it. Years, so many years. And plenty of people told us we were too slow or too careful or over-engineering the solution to a problem nobody had. But event sourcing, in plain words, it means that every change to your content is stored as an event. You can replay the history. You can undo. And this is actually for a demo. I created a little Neos backend module with a time machine where you can enter the time you want to go back to and then press activate time circuits, and it will actually replay the whole website to that point in time. And that works. It's a proof of concept, though. So you can see exactly who or what changed something and when. You have an audit trail, rollback, governance, precisely what you need the moment a machine starts editing your website, right? You want to know what these agents do on your website. and under whose authority? And can it roll back? And we can answer all these questions. So this isn't a coincidence. We've been there before. We had inline editing, DDD, event sourcing, content dimensions fusions. We kept doing things the industry wasn't doing, quietly, almost stubbornly. So I think we're allowed to trust that we can do that again. And of course, there's a flip side to this, because event sourcing keeps events forever. So imagine, I mean, that's great when you have 20 editors doing 50 changes a day. But now if you have 100 AI editors doing 50 changes a second, then there's a problem. But the foundation holds. What we need are some new features like snapshots, compaction, some ways to stay fast. So I think the base is really excellent. We just need to put some features on top. And last year, I gave a little demo here. Basti created a MCP server as a proof of concept. And it wasn't more than a proof of concept. So in order to let an agent really do work in EOS, there's still some work ahead. So who here in the audience or whose company has developed some kind of MCP server? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I would say 15. I would have guessed something like that. And I guess there are certainly more outside this room. And excuse me for that, but this is completely stupid. So we should join forces. So MCP, creating an MCP server is not a secret weapon you should keep for yourself. You know, Neos is not such a big community that we can have 15 versions of an MCP server. If you want to see Neos thrive, we need to pull all our knowledge together. And this is not just about MCP servers. There are some great examples where agencies already teamed up. We have initiatives like Flowpack, etc. And that's the model. That's something, let's do more about that, or more of that. We are a community in a niche market and shouldn't waste our energy on such duplicate work. So what makes your agency different has never been some secret Neos knowledge. And this is also not our spirit usually. We have so much information and exchange in our community. So what makes you special is your craft, your relation to your customers. And the platform itself should be shared and strong. So that's how a community like ours punches above its weight. So I think we built the right thing, but we're not done. And there are two gaps, two ideas I want to propose. Not completely new, I guess. But let's focus on the authoring experience, but based on a concept updated for 2026. So we need to really take this seriously because Neos is so well known for the editing experience. And there are some little stones you have in your shoes sometimes. Let's get rid of these and make Neos really your favorite editing tool, which you really want to use in order to write a draft and gather ideas and so on. We're not far from that. It takes some effort to do that, but I think it's important. And the second more important gap I see at the moment is automation, and that includes AI access, of course. So we currently don't have a real web API. We don't have an official MCP server, but I also think there's a better way than MCP which we can use to allow agents to use Neos, and that is a command line interface. So imagine we have a Neos CLI tool, which you can install on your computer or on some server, And that CLI tool can remotely access your NEOS website and do everything. Every button a user can possibly use, that CLI tool can do as well. And with that, we deliver some skills and a markdown file so agents perfectly know how to use that tool. So with that, we have one interface, but 3 usages. We have an agent which can use that, but also a human in the terminal can use that. And also a script in your pipeline can do a for loop. If you don't need AI for everything. You can just use scripting. So I think that would be a nice thing if we had such a NEOS CLI tool. And, oh, someone got it. I think AI is not only putting pressure on us as an open source project. I feel that it's a burden and hard and so on. But I also think that it can be a gift for a volunteer project. Just think about React updates, or little new features in our React user interface. There are not a lot in our NEOS team who actually are experts in React. And AI can actually help us a lot with that. Because if you have an existing structure and want to add something aside from that, that's perfectly doable nowadays. And also all these big upgrades, which nobody really wants to do, these unglamorous time-eating jobs. So I would say AI is kind of the contributor to our project we never were able to find. It's not supposed to take away the exciting things we want to work on, but it's, for the work which is piling up, the work that honestly wouldn't be done otherwise. And I know that some in our community are very skeptical about AI, some others are all in, and many aspects are, of course, unclear, but I think we can't wait until the dust has settled. We need to deal with that now. And I know that we as an open source project are very aware of vendor lock-in, and that is also a big argument when we sell NEOS. And yeah, to be fair, there are only a few US-based companies who provide AI which is capable enough to do coding. So the principle I'm trying to follow is that whatever I let the AI do should still be able to do by hand if needed. So some manual override. I still need to know what happens there. I will create documentation so that if everything fails, I still can do it slower, of course, but possible. And this is something we can also make or use when we develop NEOS. This is why I propose that CLI tool, because that is something you still can use if the AI can't. It's still useful. Right. So before you head off into the next 2 days, one reminder. So you're not a customer here. You never were. By being in this room and by using NEOS, by talking to each other in the hallway here, you're already part of this, right? And I want to take this point here to point out that there are some who are even more part of this because they built what we are now using. And there has been a lot of uncertainty, and they kept going anyway. So if you gave the NEOS project your time and your energy this past year, maybe only a few hours or maybe some weeks in a row, then please stand up now. And let us look who actually made NEOS thrive during the last couple of months. Come on. Thank you so much. So thanks to every one of you, really. So before we head off to the next 2 days, there are 3 things I want you to take with you. And the one thing is, we've been ahead in the past, and I think the foundation enables us to be ahead again. So I think that the deep know-how we have in our community, in this room, and about architecture, content modeling, the discipline to ship something safe, stable, and reliably upgradable for years, that doesn't go away in the AI era. So if anything, that is the basis for AI to be really useful. And the second thing is, as I said, let AI take the work that's piling up, the tedious upgrades, the boring refactorings, the release reviews, like a pre-review until a human looks at it. So that's where AI can really pay off for us in the short term. And the third is, we are stronger together. There are already great initiatives, as I said, like agencies teaming up and so on. Let's do more of that. So your agency is not valuable because of some secret Neos trick, but because the way you provide your service to your clients. And I think that the platform should be shared. So get into Neos, talk to each other in the hallways, in the breaks, at the social events, try uncomfortable things, because this is really a safe thing to do in this community. And let's build the next chapter of this project together, and I can't wait to see what you make next. So have a fantastic conference. Thank you.